Are you ready?
Yo, one of my pet peeves in podcasting is starting the podcast with a dumb question. Yeah, I'm ready, Stu. Yeah, I'm ready. So stop asking dumb questions. Okay.
Does anybody else ask dumb questions on podcasts?
Just you. Just you. You're basically the only person I know that asks dumb questions. Hey man, we recently wrapped up with one of the groups talking finances as a key element in our kinetic life circle. And there's so many different ways we could go with this. But one that I want to focus on is this idea of spending and values. And I think it's very interesting. And kind of the way the talk went, I think it was last week, the way the talk went was effectively to you have your core values. This is something we walk the men through, and we all develop our core values and kind of really refine them. And it was an exercise to take a look at your finances and to see if your core values align. And you and I started talking about it after the fact. And what is interesting, and I think a lot of people kind of approach things that way, they look at it that way, but I actually think it's the wrong way to look at it. I think a better way to look at that is to look at your finances and determine what your values truly are. To be honest about the fact that your finances and your calendar will truly, truly reflect what your priorities are and, quite frankly, what your values are. And so as a challenge, as we talk through this, as a challenge, it was to take a look at your finances without any presupposition or without any bias towards the values that you think you have, and to take a look and see what, if somebody, a complete stranger, had your finances, what they would tell you your values are.
Yeah, it's challenging for sure, man, because you might have, this thought of, saying you're for example, let's say you're a godly person and you're a giver, right? And then you go and dive deep into your finances and realize that, you know, maybe you give 2% or 5% or whatever. When you say you value tithing and giving, um, or you value your family, but you aren't putting any money towards family things, right? Like family events or getaways or whatever that is,
Maybe there's
entertainment.
a golf budget, right? There's a golf budget
Yeah.
in the hundreds of dollars a month, but the money spent to take family out, well, I can't afford that. Right.
Right. Yeah. It's super challenging. I mean, if you go into it with an open mind and just take a look, like just dive into 30, 60, 90 days of where you're spending your money. And then and maybe the challenge is look at that and then hand that over to somebody. Hand that over to an accountability partner and be like, all right, hey, look, here's where I spend my money. Where would you say my values line up? That'd be an interesting question.
Yeah, and it's about being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's about growth, and growth happens in this discomfort. We talk about all the time, and I think that one of the things that you and I have talked about implementing, and I really I am excited about this prospect, is getting my finances in a place where I can show them to you again without any explanation, hand them over to you as my accountability partner, as my brother, and be like, okay, here's my finances. I'm just being honest. This is where we're at. And it's not necessarily, it doesn't have to be for, I say accountability. It doesn't have to be for judgment for you to be like, oh, you need to change your spending here. That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's just a snapshot, right? Because you and I value different things, and our finances will reflect that. So it's not necessarily, unless I'm asking, be careful with this, for our listeners, unless the person's asking you for your opinion and help and coaching potentially, don't go to that place. Just be there to be like, okay, cool. Thank you. Yep. I see it. And then whatever agreements you guys set, do that, but make it challenging, make it uncomfortable. Most people don't want to share their finances. My question to that is why? Is it an area in your life that you want to be better with? Yes or no? I mean, I would love to talk to the person. It's like, no, I don't really want to improve in my financial standing or my financial well being. I don't really want to improve there. then if that person is out there, like, I would love a conversation. Like, let's chat offline, because I would love to understand, you know, what gets somebody into a position that they're just like, yeah, I'd rather be worse with my finances. But that being said, I want to be better. And part of being better is understanding what my financial situation is. Most of us probably don't have a super clear budget, or maybe you do, but you don't necessarily, there's not a challenge to your thought process on, whatever it is you're spending your money on. And if that's something you desire, then set it up, right? Then have a conversation. And it can be with anybody. I just like it, because we're on this growth journey together in every facet of the circle. And so this is just what an action item looks like in that.
Yeah.
But also having an agreement, right? Like, I love the agreement of, hey, if I'm going to spend more than $1,000, like, I'm going to let you know about it.
Mm.
Just as not because I think it's bad to spend $1,000. I just spent $1,000 yesterday because my tires were in a very unsafe situation. And then I drove across the country in 2,000 miles on ball tires. But that aside, those are other terrible life
Good call, dude.
decisions. Yeah, and I'll never do that again. It's interesting. I started analyzing that because we're talking about finances. I was like, why did I do that? I literally put my family at risk. Why did I do that? What is my relationship with money? And if it came down, if tires were $1 million, but it meant the difference between the safety of my family and the not safety of my family, well, I would either find a way to somehow get $1 million, or I would never drive. Like, those would be the options. Like, why would I? So it's interesting, right? It's always good to challenge our thought process around these things. And finances is a big area that we should be addressing, and we should be very intentional with, because it will tell you what you value.
And I don't know the specific stats, but I've heard that quoted a lot of times. Finances is the number one, if not number one, number two reason for divorce. It is a common argument between spouses. And that the second challenge that we kind of posed to our mastermind group was, hey, take these same questions to your spouse and have this conversation of where, what does success look like in our family for finances? How much do we need? What's enough? How much do you want to be giving? How much do you want to be saving? How much, what do you value? Do you want to feel secure with X number of dollars in the bank account? Do you want to have life insurance policies set up? Do you want to have, trusts and all this stuff? Like, these are all like just great conversations to have and understand about your spouse, because however you grew up, like, you can have different opinions and outlooks on spending, on saving, on investing. If you're not having those meaningful conversations and understanding the other, there's going to be arguments. There will be arguments. And so, having that conversation with your spouse about finances is very, very important, and being on the same page.
Yeah, and Stu and I are not here to, I have no judgment of giving, not giving, if you are a giver, of how much you give, what you don't get. Like, I personally don't care. I don't care about your finances because I care about mine, right? And it's not we would never give. If you ask what we do, we're going to give an opinion on what we do. But I don't think the way that I handle my finances is better than the next person. But I do know for a fact that if you have a conversation with your wife or your spouse and you get on the same page and you set goals and you achieve those goals, and they're very refined and you agree on them, and you can potentially take the arguments and the side of finances that is potentially a point of contention in your household, if you can remove that through effective communication, action taking, all those things, there's nothing bad about that. That is 100% good. And we should be striving to do that. Most of us don't even talk amongst each other being our spouse within our household, don't even talk about this stuff. And a lot of times one person handles the finances and the other has no idea. Like, there's all kinds of And a lot of times the arguments are based completely in ignorance, which is interesting too, right? You fight about money that you don't even understand where it should be invested or how you're investing or a saving rate, like any of it. It's ignorance versus ignorance. And so there's no way to bridge that gap. And so being intentional with understanding your finances, with having these conversations, open communication, all these things, is all good and will get you further down the road towards freedom and peace and all those good things that you truly want, that are beautiful words and everybody wants them, but very few define them.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we're pushing it is, hey, this is action item. Here's an action item takeaway. Sit down and figure out, one, if you don't have a budget, even a very rudimentary budget, figure out what you need every month just to pay the bills. And I'm not suggesting you do a budget, but I would also, anybody who argues, I don't budget, or budgeting is, terrible, whatever. Okay, well, at least understand, do you have more money coming in than you have going out?
Yeah.
Because that's important.
That's
and I don't care who you are, that's important. If you understand to more detail what that number is, then you can actually plan against it and you can create action plans to do something. So step one, figure that out. Very rudimentary. Take 10 minutes. Big deal. Stop scrolling for 10 minutes and just do that, right? Like give up 10 minutes somewhere to do that. And then start going to a deeper level of asking yourself, okay, what does success look like? What does comfort really mean? And then have that conversation with your spouse. Those three things could be game changing.
Yep. I'll add a varsity challenge because you like to add varsity challenges. And this is what we challenge inside the Storehouse Mastermind. Look at your expenses for the last 90 days and determine what you value based on your expenses. And do you like that? Are you okay with where you're spending your money lined up with your values? Do it. Varsity.
Yeah. Varsity.
You're not varsity, but the challenge is.
The French would say varsity. Doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
Good stuff, dude. Very challenging.
Yes, sir.
I'm uncomfortable about handing over my finances for you, and that's I draw great comfort.
I'm going to just dive deep into your finances, and I'm gonna judge you and like.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Next.
Bye.
Real talk. See ya.